Hi everyone, and welcome to a new Camera Jabber video. This time I'm speaking to Guy Thatcher, who is the founder and managing director of Hireacamera. Hi Guy, how are you?
Hi there, Ange. Nice to speak to you.
You're looking very well.
Well, sun's out. It's absolutely glorious outside. So,
It's a
we've got
beautiful
something
day.
to smile about.
Yes. So how are things with you and Hireacamera? Maybe you'd like to introduce the company to start off with.
Hireacamera does pretty much what it says on the tin. We hire out cameras, lenses, video cameras, accessories, basically everything you can think of involving stills and video photography and videography. And we hire to pretty much anybody and everybody. We've got a very varied customer base, from amateurs through to freelancers, professionals, agencies, broadcasters, production companies. If you can think of a way that you need to use something to take an image of something, then yep, we probably deal with them. We actually 2 weeks ago, we had a biscuit factory. So, anything is possible.
Okay, so obviously you're in the hire business rather than the sales business, but how has the current situation affected Hireacamera?
Well, I think not surprising to anybody, the events have all been cancelled, which means that hires for events are also cancelled. So yes, we've seen a dramatic change on that side of things. That's no great surprise to anybody. But conversely, we've also we've worked hard to help our customers adopt different strategies to dealing with things. So, for example, on the video side of things, we hire out to broadcasters and production companies for broadcast purposes. Obviously, they can't actually go and film anything at the moment because they can't get too close to anybody interviewees. So what we've now started doing is we now started sending kits out, easy to use kit, but of a broadcast compliant sort of level, over to the interviewees, and then they are then coaching the interviewees how to then set the camera up and get the interview. Then it comes back to us and we're sending the rushes down to the production companies. So it's all about learning how to adapt and change things. On the photography side, yes, people have cancelled events, but equally, people are sitting at home with lots of time on their hands. And so it's a perfect time to try kit. So we've tried to make that as accessible as possible. Financially, it's obviously not a great time for people. So we introduced last week. So during lockdown, we're basically picking up half the courier cost and delivery cost for the customer to try and ease that, because proportionally, as a percentage of a higher cost, that can be quite a lot of money because it obviously has to go on a decent courier service. And we thought, whilst everybody else is, putting their lives on the line on the front line of the NHS, we thought we should do our bit as well. And so we're giving 10% of all of our proceeds to two NHS charities.
That's nice. So somebody who perhaps normally shoots sport or wildlife, so they've got long lenses, but they're now at home, potentially they could hire a macro lens from you and try something else, do wildlife, but perhaps closer quarters in their garden. They could hire a lens from you and you would pay half the transport costs.
Yeah. I mean, actually, I have to say, I've chuckled looking at some of we have a reasons for hire field when people place an order, and I have to say, I've really chuckled at some of them. Like sort of the back garden wildlife photography, and no, it's been. I mean, obviously, the moon's been
Yes.
a big thing for the last week or so. So we've had
quite literally a big thing.
Yeah, literally. So we've had quite a few people trying out kits for that, which was nice. I think it probably gave people a bit of a break and gave them something to sort of try and invest a bit of time to see what they could get out of it.
Yeah, and I think actually, because a lot of people aren't going to work at the moment, they're more prepared or able, I suppose, to get up at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. to go and see the moon at its best. Whereas normally you sort of think, well, I've got to get up at 6, I've got to do this, so it's giving people some opportunities that they wouldn't normally have. I guess it's just nice timing with the lunar cycle.
Yes, very much so. And I think, also, I think people are delving into the online resources in terms of learning new techniques. I know You know, some of the manufacturers have started already streaming some advice presentations, that kind of thing. And there's also, I mean, you can go onto YouTube or whatever, and you can find someone somewhere will have basically done a video on how to do whatever it may be. I don't know whether it be something like, you know, filming a water drop or something like that. And so people have got time that they might not have had before to actually invest in doing something slightly different. I mean, that's the fun of it. And we are finding that, you know, our regular customers who use us for bread and butter business, you know, on the video side, are actually hiring still stuff because they just want to have a play.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes, you know, there's a technique you'd like to try, but you need to invest in the equipment. You think, well, I don't know how, if I'm really going to get into this to make it worthwhile spending that money, but hiring whatever you need is a great way of sort of just trying it out. And if you get into it, you can always go on to buy. But if you don't, you've just had some great fun with
I think that's
hire equipment.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And you know, I'd lie if I'd say it's a huge part of our business, but the reality is that actually at this present moment in time, it's actually been quite significant just due to the situations that we're in at the moment.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been watching, when I have been watching TV, I've been keeping an eye on all the interviews and sort of spotting who's got the terrible webcams and who's got a decent setup. And then you sometimes see someone, you think, well, that's good quality, but I suspect that you're not really into photography to know what you're doing. So sometimes that could have been you sending out that kit with an explainer or connecting the person to whoever's going to be doing the interview so that they can explain how to use it. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we've, ironically enough, actually, before this all happened, we sort of started to look more at sort of the web streaming side of it, but also, so we have cameras that you can literally put your YouTube stream key into, and you can just basically present straight off the camera without any other connections. But one thing that sort of started to occur to us is that actually people want to be able to control what they're doing. So they want to take a camera, they take the camera and they want to plug it into their laptop and then stream out of their laptop. And so we started looking at lots of different ways that that could be done. We did originally have some Blackmagic signed web presenters, and now we've moved on to, well, they're supposed to be arriving next week. We've got a whole load of Atom Mini Pros arriving, which are, quite frankly, unbelievably good. I mean, they do everything. You can actually stream directly off them, but you can also use it plugging into as a USB straight into your laptop. So what we've tried to do, we always try and do the same thing, is whenever we take any approach, we try and find the cheapest way of doing it. And then, you know, we start working our way up from there. So we've got these little Camlink dongles, which are amazing. HDMI on one side, go straight into USB into the other side. So you can take any camcorder you want. And really, you know, it's down to you exactly what you want. If you want depth of field like you've got, for example, if you want to have a lapel microphone, that kind of thing, that's all doable then. And it can go via the Camlink straight in, and you can do Zooms like we're doing today, or you can actually basically record straight as an MOV or whatever onto your laptop. You can stream. So I think, you know, we've had to change a lot of things of how we're doing it. We have an awful lot of our customers who are freelancers, either stills or video. And of course, they've had to come up with some kind of solution as to how they're going to get through this. How are they going to keep engaging with their corporate customers? Because the most important thing is whatever you do, now is not the time to lose contact with your customers. It's more important than ever during this time to make sure that you separate yourself from everybody else in terms of you do make sure that you try and offer something to your customer, something innovative, you know, and that's where, so we've kind of thought on our feet, and we've made sure that we've grouped kit together to offer to their clients to help them out of this issue.
That's great. Do you think any of the changes that you've seen are likely to be permanent?
Yes, I think some of this will be permanent. There's no question over it. I think, you know, the one thing I think we've established is that, you know, time is money. Travel takes time, and that costs money. I don't think anybody really, I suppose, I don't think anybody really realized just how much time was being wasted. Perhaps culturally or socially, it was not acceptable not to be present to do things. Whereas now, we've all kind of realized that actually it is perfectly acceptable. You know, you and I wouldn't be probably having this conversation like this. You know,
Mm.
I'd probably be there with you and we'd be doing an interview face to face. But really, does it make any difference? The answer is no, it doesn't make an awful lot of difference whatsoever. Yes, I think that will change. People always have to social, meet, but equally we've realized that we can quite easily do that, through this medium as well. So yes, we will obviously still have, business as normal in some respects, but I do also think that, this type of thing will carry on.
And I think this type of thing, I think also is a big step up from an email. If you normally have an email chain with someone, actually speaking to them like this, you can even both have a cup of coffee if you want, but it's just you actually feel like you're connecting with that person in a much better way, and you see their facial expressions and you understand what they're saying. Even if their words aren't saying it in the same way, you can understand their emotions or feeling behind it.
Totally. And I think the irony of all of this is that actually you end up communicating with people more than you ever did otherwise. It's funny, in the office at the moment, we've got obviously a skeleton staff. A lot of our guys, the office-based guys, are actually all working from home. Thankfully, we had VoIP phones anyway. So they literally unplugged their phone, took their computer, went home, plugged it all in, and away they go.
Mm-hmm.
And, they quite often sit there whilst we're sort of developing new features for when the world returns to some normality. But I mean, they 7 or 8 of them can all be sitting on a meeting, nattering together. I jump in on there and they're all, nattering away, communicating. So I think that, yes, everybody's accepted that, the world is going to be slightly different. How do we adapt? How do we make a difference with this? Well, the reality is that, we can make a difference by offering a higher level of, visual and audio, service. So, looking at your image there, you can see there's a depth of field, which I haven't got on mine because I'm using a laptop, ironically enough, isn't it? But, those are the kind of things that separate one transmission, one stream, one communication against another. And, the one thing is, everybody always tries to find ways of separating and appearing better than another. That's the whole thing about human nature. So, we are finding that. I'm sure, our freelancers will go back to doing productions very much the same. Events will start to happen again. They have to be supported. They go to those events. But I still think that in some circumstances, it will be acceptable for them to send kit, for people to do something, rather than actually making that journey. I think that, where people just wouldn't consider it, or they couldn't expect their clients to consider it, now it is something that is under consideration.
Yeah. It's obviously been quite a challenging time, but also it sounds like it's been quite a motivating time for you, because obviously you're looking at the problems and trying to find ways around them, but also help your clients as well.
Yeah, well, we're nothing without our clients. It's quite simple. And indeed, they're not an awful lot without their customers. So, it's always been our responsibility to try and find ways to innovate, come up with things and, help them. That's the way my brain ticks. I always look at everything as an opportunity, and it's just a question of working out what that opportunity is and how we can help people as best we can, how we can serve them. If they've got any downtime, how can we help them deal with that? Can we help them from a financial point of view? Also, as I say, I'm a great believer that, these are the times when you can separate yourself from others who will bury their heads in the sand and just think, well, that's it. There's nothing I can do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not the case at all. And ironically enough, as I said, people are communicating more than they've ever done in this kind of medium. So now's the time to get that message out to your customers that you're there to support them. You're there to be able to offer them the services that they need to be able to then communicate with their end users. So no, I think it's a great, out of everything there are opportunities, and it's just about making sure that we try and support our customers and help them as best we can.
Okay. Now, I know that you're a keen photographer.
Yes.
And obviously you've got access to a huge range of cameras and lenses. What camera have you got locked down with you at the moment?
Well, actually, I hate to say it, it's cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a Sony RX100 Mark 7. That's our general everyday shoot the kids camera that just lives here. And I've got a Fuji GFX 100.
Very nice.
Well, the irony is that, you know, it's been on my to-do list for ages and ages and ages, and I've just never got round to it. So I thought, actually, Easter weekend, the sun's out, perfect time to try and get some shots of the children if I can. So I've got one of those. I've also got an EOS R as well. I've got some lenses that I want to try, so I want to have a play with that. And I've got a Canon camcorder here as well at the moment. So a mixture of lots of different things.
Quite an array and different sensor sizes and formats and all sorts of things going on.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody, I suspect, assumes that, you know, it's wonderful. I get my chance to play with everything all the time. The reality is that the spare time I have is not huge, and with 3 young children as well, it's not. That doesn't really help in terms of having free time. Yeah. So yeah, but it's nice. We've got a long weekend. We've got a chance to actually try and play with some things. And if they can all stay still for more than 3 milliseconds, I've got a chance.
Well, good luck with that. Just to say, I think, you know, the GFX 100, that's a great example of a camera that someone might like to hire, because it's around £10,000 to buy. You get some beautiful results. It's fantastic fun to use and very, you know, it's surprisingly fast. It doesn't feel like a medium format camera used to. Focus, all that sort of stuff. But to rent it for a few days, you know, is a fraction of the cost. And you could produce some fabulous images and have a great time.
Yeah, I must admit, actually, the GFX 100, I had to play with it last night. You've hit the nail on the head exactly with that one, because some cameras you can make assumptions with. So if you play with a 50R or 50S, you know, the images, the dynamic range out of them is just jaw-dropping, but it's not the fastest camera in the world. You accept that, and that's one of those things. What surprised me with the 100 is actually how fast it is. And you just wouldn't know that, and I don't think I would have believed if someone had told me that until I'd actually played with it. So yes, it is. It's very useful to be able to do that.
Great. Well, thanks very much for speaking to me, Guy. It's been really lovely hearing from you. And I guess I better let you go and release those 3 kids into the sunshine. Yeah, no, I'm sure that they're raring to go. Well, listen, it's lovely speaking to you. Have the most wonderful Easter. Thanks very much. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye.